Al. That's Nick Kalikas. I'm Frank Trigg. Of course, you're watching us here on MMA Oddsbreaker. This big card coming this weekend, UFC 218. We've got Holloway and Aldo. Should have been Holloway and Edgar, but obviously Edgar had to pull out due to an injury. Personally, I think Edgar was a tougher matchup than Aldo, but it is a rematch. It's going to be very difficult for both fighters, no matter what happens, in both camps trying to put this together. But first, as always, the co-main event. Alistair Overeem, number 1 contender. Francis Ngannou, number 4 contender. Alistair, 43-15-0 and 1 no contest. Francis is 10-1. Is it a little early? They have Alistair as number 1 contender. They have Francis number 4 contender. Is it a little early for Francis to be jumped up to this big limelight, a co-main event on a major card?
I don't think it is, but if you're looking at it on paper, it is. You know what I mean? What you're saying is kind of accurate, of course, because look at the experience Overeem has. I mean, he just fought for the title recently as well, and he was seconds away from finishing the champion right now, Stipe Miocic. So that was an impressive performance, especially early on. Now, of course, Stipe came through and got the W like a true champion does. So, I mean, you got to give Stipe credit for surviving early on and winning the fight. But Overeem, man, I mean, that's how good he is. He's so dangerous on the feet. Obviously, he's got outstanding world-class kickboxing on the ground. He's got a great jiu-jitsu game. He's got underrated wrestling. So he's definitely the more complete fighter right now with all that experience coming into this fight. He should have an edge on paper in that sort of way. But Ngannou's a beast, man. I mean, they've been bringing him along kind of slow. I know right now it seems like he's already kind of in the title mix, so it might be fast-tracked a little bit. But, I mean, a lot of his experience has come into UFC against solid competition, and he's been, destroying everybody that he's faced. So I think with his confidence, with his training, with his just improvements, he's a physical specimen. And I think that he's the type of athlete that picks up on things relatively easy. So he's just a special type of fighter that I think he's ready for it right now. He's a huge favorite right now as well. He's coming in at minus 270, wow. And the comeback Overeem is at plus 230. Now, I opened it a little bit lower, but the betting action has come in on Ngannou as well and bet it up a little bit. So the public agrees with my original line that he should be a solid 2-1 or more favorite.
So you're saying from a betting standpoint that we've got to bet on Ngannou because you think he's the better one. The public is now betting it up as well. All signs point towards Ngannou taking this bet. So is this a pass situation because of the number, or do we just have to lay a little bit on the favorite?
Well, this is tough right now where the number's at. I mean, I think if it's around 2-1 or under, you got to hammer Ngannou. But if it's over 2-1, you got to kind of stay back and relax a little bit and not go too crazy because, like I said, you got to respect Overeem. I mean, that power on the feet, I mean, he can definitely catch any heavyweight in the world and knock him out. And then again, you can't count out his ground game. And I think his path to victory is actually getting some takedowns. I know Ngannou's takedown defense is pretty solid, but we have seen him put on his back before. And if Overeem's able to control him on the ground a little bit, drop some ground and pound, he might make easier work for himself that night. But it's going to be hard. That's a tough task. I think it's going to be hard to control Ngannou on the ground. And I think what we're going to see is probably a stand-up war. And I think Ngannou's going to be the one with a slightly better chin. I'm saying slightly because we haven't really seen Ngannou's chin tested all that great yet, especially against a guy like Overeem, right?
Right.
So I think right now I do trust him more, though, because Overeem, I mean, that's been his flaw throughout his career. It's been cardio, and it's been that chin. His cardio seems to be a little bit better as he's pacing himself more. He's, as a veteran, as he gets more experience, as he gets a little bit older, he's fighting a little bit smarter. So his gas is, lasting a little bit longer as the fight progresses in most cases. But this is going to be a war, and this is going to be a very physical fight, grueling fight. So I think we got to worry about Overeem's gas tank a little bit here. And that chin, I mean, with Ngannou's power, any punch, any strike, I think can put Overeem down. So that's why I kind of lean a little bit more towards Ngannou. But the betting perspective, I think you take Ngannou inside the distance because you're going to get a shorter line. You're not going to lay 2-1 on Ngannou inside the distance. So you take Ngannou inside the distance or by knockout if you're going to bet this fight. Other than that, kind of stay away because I think it is a favorite or pass situation, but I would not lay close to 3-1 against a guy like Overeem right now.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, if you're in Ngannou's camp, you're looking at the championship fight with Alistair and Stipe, and you're taking a lot away from that. You're learning not only, hey, is Alistair still very dangerous, even though he is past, in my belief, past his prime, but he's not so far past his prime that he's sliding off the hill. He's just got a little bit older. He really hasn't slowed down too much. He is still coming in around 265. I think we're going to find out on Friday when he makes weight, actually what the actual weight class is, or what he's weighing in at. Where Francis supposedly comes around 250, which doesn't sound that much of a difference of 15 pounds, but when you put these two gentlemen together, it looks like Francis is slightly bigger. So I'm wondering what the weight actually says. Like he might have a bigger stature, but hasn't filled out his frame yet. Where Alistair, obviously with his age and some of the products he took early, obviously got caught for testosterone replacement therapy. A few Say again.
Horse meat. The
Yeah,
good
horse
old
meat.
horse.
Yeah, horse meat. Yeah, it was all the horse meat and the testosterone, and then more testosterone in the horse meat. I think is what was going on. So, but Alistair, he's not so far past his prime. You have to like round him out. You got to really think about this guy. He was, like you said, he was seconds away from being the heavyweight champ again. So what are you going to say about him? Obviously, with his great career in Pride, his great career in K1, he's one of those guys you really have to worry about. And Francis didn't just explode on the scene. He's still not even like he's. For most diehard insiders, we all know who he is, but the casual fan is like, who is the number 4 ranked guy? Like, I don't even know who he is. People were asking me at my gym the other day, who is this guy? What is he? Like, why is he all of a sudden the co-main event? And that's what I was asking earlier. Is it too early for him to be pushed up here? But you're saying no. You're saying he's the favorite. This is the guy that deserves to be in this space. I thought he was being slow played into the championship title hunt. He beats Overeem this Saturday. He's number 1 contender. He's next in line. He's the guy that's going to face Stipe next. So he's not being slow tracked. He's being fast tracked.
Right now he is. I mean, and he, they brought him around the right way. Like I said, he's got more experience in the UFC than anywhere else right now, though. Mm-hmm. So he's picked apart and destroyed some really solid fighters. I mean, they're kind of bringing him along fairly well. I think he hasn't been challenged like this before, though. I mean, Overeem is definitely a tough test, and I wouldn't be surprised if Overeem does pull off the slight upset, because of what you just said. I mean, he's a very dangerous heavyweight. But I mean, for a while now, I've really felt that Ngannou is the biggest threat to Stipe's title. I mean, I was talking to my brother, as you know, my brother used to manage Stipe as well. A while back, we were talking about future up-and-coming heavyweights, like who is a threat to Stipe's throne or whatever. And I told him, man, I said, you got to watch out for Ngannou more than anybody else. He's the guy that in the future I can see being a real threat. And it looks like it's coming apart right now. I think that, from what we've seen of Ngannou, I mean, the guy's getting better fight by fight. He's getting more confident. Right now he's talking like he is the future champion. He believes it mentally. So that's dangerous as well. I mean, with that guy's athleticism, his power, and he's only getting better. Like you said, he's still raw when it comes to the full MMA arsenal of his game. But fight by fight, he's going to get better and better. So it's scary for the whole heavyweight division for this guy. So I do think he deserves a shot. The heavyweight division is kind of weak. It's been weak for a long time.
Yep.
With Cain Velasquez being out, unfortunately, I mean, he's one of the best heavyweights he has been in the world for a long time. It's just he can't stay healthy. Yeah. So with him out of the picture, I mean, Stipe's already beaten Overeem before. He beat Verdum. I don't want to say he's cleaned out the heavyweight division, but I think obviously Cain Velasquez would be Stipe's toughest opponent right now. And if not Cain, it probably has to be Ngannou. I mean, this is definitely a tough test if he can get by Overeem. So I'm looking forward to it, because I think, in the future we will see Ngannou versus Stipe, and that should be a war, and that should be a classic battle.
I like that matchup, actually. I really like that matchup a lot, especially if he's able to finish Overeem. Then it makes it a lot more interesting than if he just wins a decision over Overeem, because everyone's going to say no matter what he did in the early rounds, when it comes to, once again, Alistair gassed out. Whether he gassed out or not, that will be the storyline. Alistair gassed out, that's on the Ngannou won, he just made him tired, he was able to run away. It doesn't make the Stipe matchup so interesting, but if he's able to finish Overeem, then I was thinking, like, okay, this guy's legit, and Stipe is going to have a tough task in front of him. Now he's got, instead of just Cain Velasquez is the one guy that could dethrone him. Now he's got 2 guys that are possibly could dethrone him that are left in the weight class. So, yeah, you're right. It's a very, very, very interesting matchup for sure.
Yeah, looking forward to it. And again, I mean, the heavyweight division, I think, is just that much better with a guy like Ngannou in the mix. So,
absolutely.
Awesome stuff.
All right, main event. Max Holloway, the champ, number 1 contender, Jose Aldo. Holloway smashed up Jose last time. We had the whole, I'm okay, John, I'm fine, as I'm taking 75 punches to my head. It's okay. Yes, those punches were not hard. Yes, those punches were not knockout punches, but you are not intelligently defending yourself. Getting held down and getting punched in the side of the head and not doing anything to get out of there, fight's over, man. You lost. Rematches suck. They're always harder, no matter whether you're the guy that won it the first time or the guy that lost it. They're always harder. Both guys know more about each other. I'm leaning towards Max, but I'm biased. I love Max. We train together. We hang out together. I can't, I can't pick against Max ever. So no matter what is going on either side, it's always going to be Max Holloway on my side. But what's the public saying, and what was the line originally?
Well, I opened actually Holloway just under 2-1 favorite. I think it was minus 270 or 3-1 favorite. I'm sorry. So I opened at minus 270. So almost a 3-1 favorite for Holloway over the legend that is Aldo. So that's a pretty steep price if you think about it.
I want to correct you. Not a legend, greatest of all time. Like Jose Aldo, the weight class, he's a GOAT. Like he is the guy that everybody was chasing after, everybody was looking after. Now he's not only a legend because he's been in the sport for so long, but he legitimately could be, if he had won that fight against Max, he probably could legitimately been put back into the pound for pound ranking again, and within 1 or 2 more fights, be back at the top of the heap, above DJ, above GSP because of his long history. The guy is amazing. Sorry to interrupt you, Nick.
Yeah. No, no problem. You're absolutely right. I agree with you 100%. I mean, he is the greatest featherweight of all time, no doubt about it. I mean, he's one of the greatest fighters in the UFC, of all time. Really, you got to put him up there. So I get it. That's why it's crazy to see right now. The line is minus 320 for Holloway. The comeback is plus 260 on Aldo. So Holloway's been performing so good, and talk about a guy being brought up right. I mean, slowly but surely. I mean, Max Holloway, just everybody that the UFC put in front of him. I mean, with the exception recently of Conor McGregor, but that was now a while back, it seems, as well. I mean, Holloway just pretty much ran through. I mean, and he gets better fight by fight. Look what he did. I was shocked. If you would have told me a couple years ago that Max Holloway is going to step in there with Anthony Pettis and finish Anthony Pettis, then he's going to Jose Aldo and finish Jose Aldo, I would have said, come on. Are you joking too? Not that Holloway's a bad fighter, even back then, but still, we had those guys so high on a pedestal with Pettis and with Aldo that, I mean, we kind of thought, no way, nobody can kind of make him look as bad as Holloway did. And he did. I mean, Holloway, just amazing what kind of conditioning the guy has. I mean, the fight IQ he has, the technique he has, he's just a complete fighter, and it's a terrible matchup for Jose Aldo. And I cannot believe I'm saying that, but it really is. I don't see how Jose Aldo wins this fight because Holloway has a tough chin. I don't think he knocks him out. I don't think he beats him on the cards. Aldo's going to have to land something big, I think, to get him out of there.
I quickly want to give props to Holloway's head trainer and coach, Rylan. Max Holloway is not the most amazing athlete you've ever seen. He is not the fastest, highest jumping athlete you've ever seen. He is not the strongest athlete at his weight class you've ever seen. He is basically an average individual at a sport. I mean, he's not average for the normal population. He's average for the sport. They taught him, trained him. His heart is huge. His mind is huge because he really does pay attention. He learns. He doesn't learn first round, fifth round, I've been hit with this thing 4 rounds in a row. Let me figure this out. You catch him with it one time in one round, and that round he's now adjusted. Like he's that character. So Rylan has taken an average fighter, an average athlete, and made him superior by giving him all the right tools. And now Max's confidence and, like you said, his ring IQ and his ability to adapt is absolutely amazing. And because he was average to begin with, he's able to get to above average with his thought process and his learning. So I've talked to him before. You and I have talked about this before off camera. Most fighters at this level, you're talking about guys that get 1 to 2% better every fight. They've been doing it for so long, they can't get that much better. Max is still one of those guys that gets 3 to 5% better every single fight. So imagine how much better he's going to be during this time, even though it is a rematch. But it's still Jose Aldo. It's like talking about GSP. Yes, Bisping should have beat GSP, but it's GSP. You got to remember that this is Jose Aldo. At the end of it, he might be a 3-1 underdog, but it's still Jose Aldo. Like right. There's some heart in him. There's some portion of him that's still going to try to find a way to win. He didn't get completely smashed the first fight. He didn't get completely manhandled the first fight. He got in a bad spot, was getting hit, and those little punches don't seem to be doing much to you when you're actually in the moment, but they are wearing you down and you are getting slower. And you may put the thumbs up and say you're okay, but you're really not because all of a sudden your legs don't work, your hands don't work. I want to find out what happened with Jose. Was it too much time off? Was it too many injuries? Could he not come back from the surgery? What was the problem? Are we going to see a different fight? We don't know until Saturday night. It's still Jose Aldo at the end of the day, but it's also Max Holloway at the end of the day. Like, you have to weigh both guys. From a betting standpoint, can you put 3-1 on Max Holloway? Can you take 3-1 against Jose? I mean, what are you going to put your money on this one?
I mean, you almost can, honestly. That's how tempting it is. But again, I think you kind of go the route of Holloway probably inside the distance, make a small prop play on that as well. Or if you're looking for somebody to throw in a parlay, it's a guy like Holloway this weekend as well. So if you have, fans can cross parlay, especially at a book like 5 Dimes. You can bet MMA with maybe an NFL team or basketball game, whatever. So if you're looking, or a couple fighters obviously as well. So if you're looking to throw something in a parlay, then I would recommend Holloway because there's still some value straight, whatever you want to, say him at minus 300 a little bit. So, but typically speaking, like you said, do you really want to take a big shot against a guy, the greatest of all time, the greatest featherweight of all time? We're saying he's a 3-1 dog and deservingly so. So it is what it is. Jose Aldo is definitely going to be hungry. What bothers me about the fight is I know he kind of had to step in and say, I'll take the fight. I want my belt back, on short notice or whatnot. But that's the thing here. It is short notice.
Yeah.
And, he fared too well, last time. And now this time he's going to be coming in on short notice, just kind of, I don't want to say desperate, but, he is anxious to try to get back in there and just erase that loss to Holloway right away. So I don't know. I just don't see a good scenario here for him. So, yeah, if you're looking to bet him, you either bet Max Holloway inside, because I think along the way, it might go 3 rounds, might go 4 rounds, might go 5. But I think eventually Holloway just, finishes him off as well, with Aldo kind of starting to fade, decline a little bit. And I think Holloway finishes him off. So inside the distance for Holloway is possible.
With the short notice fight for Jose Aldo, would you have rather have seen Cub Swanson get shifted off the fight night card on December 9th and fight a week earlier on December 2nd and fight Max for the championship? Because he was already training. It's just a week earlier. He was already in camp. There was no, and Cub was calling for it. He was asking for that fight. It would have screwed up Brian Ortega. Obviously, he's appointed on December 9th. But he would have been able to step. He would have been able to step in, and it would have been like just one more week. Or 1 week less. It really wasn't that much of a difference. And it went to Jose Aldo. Would Cub have been, with all things considered, a better opponent right now for Max than Jose Aldo?
I mean, stamina-wise and shape physically like that, yes. But no, overall, I don't think so. Because, Holloway's already been there, done that too. He ended up running through Cub Swanson. I don't think it's going to be any different in that fight either. So okay. I would rather give it, like you said, short notice does bother me, but I would rather give it to Jose Aldo because, like you said, I think he's got a better shot at pulling off the upset than a guy like Cub Swanson would right now against Holloway. Even with Cub Swanson having a full camp, I still think that, Jose Aldo probably has a better shot at pulling off that upset right now. Because, like we said, you can't ever count Aldo out. Of course, he's going to adapt his game plan a little bit. I'm expecting him to throw more leg kicks this fight as well.
Yep.
And his leg kicks are nasty. Now, is that going to work? Is it going to change things up? Who knows? Will he even do it? Well, I don't know. I'm not sure. We'll see. But, yeah, I would still rather see Aldo fight him because I think he deserves it more. The guy only lost to Conor McGregor. And mentally, obviously, we all know how that worked out. Conor was in his head the whole time.
Yeah.
And then goes out there and destroys him. And then, unfortunately for him, he suffers this loss to Holloway as well. But in between that, he still looked okay in that Edgar fight. He ended up beating Frank Edgar, and he looked pretty good doing so. So, maybe we're writing him off too soon, but I'm glad he's kind of in this spot. I just wish it was a full training camp, at least 8 weeks or so to get in there with him. So, but yeah, I'd still rather see.
So, obviously, after GSP comes in and has that lackluster performance against Bisping, he's getting beat up, finds a way to knock out Bisping and wins, and now all of a sudden he's back at the top of everybody's pound-for-pound list again. If Jose Aldo upsets Max Holloway, what happens to him then? Where does it put him?
He'll definitely earn a lot of respect back. And it'll, people will consider him the featherweight champion minus. They'll always, I think, in the back of their heads kind of, judge Aldo for that Conor McGregor last. Because it was so bad. In the whole scenario, it's unfortunate for him and it's not fair. But I think so, even if he comes out here and beats Holloway in impressive fashion, I think a lot of people will still believe the uncrowned, featherweight champion is Conor McGregor still. Even though he's a lightweight right now and he has that strap, you know what I mean? So I think in the back of most people's minds, I know I will. I'll kind of think that way as well. But so he's kind of lost a little bit of that invincibility, you know what I mean, from these 2 losses. But especially that McGregor loss hurt, I think, a little bit worse.
Yeah, but we can spend another 45 minutes talking about McGregor. One, he's never going back down to 45 again. And Dana White said 2 days ago he might never fight again. And with his antics in the Bellator cage and the way he's been acting outside, even Joe Rogan did an hour on Conor and his complete, and this happens to everybody, Nick. We know it because we hang out with a lot of professional athletes. You give a 23-year-old, a 24-year-old, a $20 million signing bonus who goes to the NFL draft. What's going to happen to that kid? Of course, you just gave some kid that never had any money ever in his life. We all know Conor's story. He was extremely poor, was living on somebody's couch, was getting welfare checks, and all of a sudden he went into fighting, and now he's a multimillionaire because of his stick-to-itiveness, his ability. But he's still very young, and you gave that guy that money. Now he's going crazy a little bit. Is he going to come back and fight again? Who knows? I hope he does because I love watching him fight. It's going to be amazing if he does. But I disagree with you when they say that, hey, they're going to keep putting Jose on that piece because he really only fought a couple times at 45 that actually matter. And right after that happened, he moved up. And he's been only fighting these super fights. And now he's talking about trying to fight GSP. Like that was, I'll fight GSP. And why wouldn't you? Of course, let's meet at 170. Conor McGregor's got the size nowadays at 55. If you get GSP back down to 70, they meet at 170. It actually kind of makes sense. That's actually a good fight for both characters. And they're getting all my money too. If that fight happens, they're getting all my money. Like I don't care what I got to pay for. I'm giving all to him. But yeah, I really do think that right now I disagree with you that The fans are going to keep holding on to that. But right now, as of this very moment in time, as they're doing this, that's what's happening. The fans are definitely keeping that piece up.
Yeah. So I kind of wish they would have reined it back in some ways because Aldo's better than that. Obviously, he got caught. It was a beautiful punch by McGregor. I mean, everything worked perfectly in that fight for McGregor, but unfortunately, it's a big stain. Like I said, I mean, Aldo wasn't invincible himself, and then after all that smack talk, that happened to him. So I know you're right, though. I don't think McGregor ever drops back down to featherweight. I think he does fight again lightweight. Possibly he fights at welterweight, like you said, if he even fights again. I mean, it depends. You know, he's going to come after the money, and the UFC is going to want him to fight as well. Can't tell me Dana White doesn't want that cap to come in and headline a pay-per-view because it's money in the bank if he does. So I'm sure he'll fight again, whether it's 155 or 170. But yeah, 145 is gone. And if Aldo can win this weekend, then maybe he is back at the top of the food chain at 145, and people will kind of, regardless of what Conor does, and I should say, even with his win over Aldo is still the greatest 145er of all time.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
Because what he's proven and who he went through and all that. So just because he lost to Holloway and to McGregor, those guys Conor McGregor would have to come and run through that division for a couple years before he, take that crown away from him. Same with Holloway. Holloway's a better man right now, but Holloway's going to have to kind of clean out that division a while before he kind of lives up to that greatest of all time as far as 145ers go.
Well, who does Holloway have to beat next? I mean, Edgar is the only real one left besides Aldo, who he's already beat. Like Edgar was a tougher matchup, in my opinion, than Jose Aldo. So Edgar, once he beats Edgar, he's cleaned up the division completely. Like Max has. Who's left? And like now we're talking about the only thing that's left are rematches. There's no one left in the top 10 that Holloway hasn't smashed up already that I can think of off the top of my head. Like he's already run through the division. Yeah,
off the top of my head, you're absolutely right. But the bad thing is he did most of that before he was champion. So that's why, in my mind, is like, and you got to give him credit for it still. You're right. Absolutely. And what you said is so true.
Yeah.
So, but you know what I mean? It just seems like he's had a short reign. Like, he's only had the belt for a little while now. So, he's had it for, since WEC days, so it just seems like he's been, reigning longer. But you're right. As far as cleaning out the division, man, I didn't even think about that, but he did. He went through pretty much everybody so far. So, there'll be some fresh blood coming in 145 pounds because there's always guys dropping from 155 to try to make that, to try to make a run at 145. So there'll be some challenges ahead. But if he can hold on to that strap for a couple years, then I think he can rival Holloway can rival Aldo as the greatest 145er of all time. He's not quite there yet because of those title defenses yet, in my mind.
I actually talked to Matt Hughes about this maybe a year or so ago. He was like, it was much harder to clean out the division when he was the champ than it was for him to clean out the division before he was the champ, which he was on his way to doing before he beat Carlos Condit, or not Carlos Condit, excuse me. The kid out of Canada that beat Pat Miletich, and then Carlos Newton when he beat Carlos Newton for the championship. That he was already running his way through the division, then had to rebeat everybody again as a champ. He was like, it's much harder as a champ because everyone's chasing you. So yeah, all those guys that Max has already beat, they now have. Oh, he's a champ. I'm number one contender. You got to get me back in again. Now I'm number one contender. You have to get me back in again. Like you have to put these guys back in again. So you're right. He does have to clean out the division again, even though he's already done it because he wasn't the champ at the time. Once you have that belt, everybody's chasing you. Before then, who is this guy? Okay. He went the distance with Conor McGregor, but Conor blew his knee out. He had a bad knee when he started. Oh, wait, hold on a second. The last time he lost was to Conor McGregor. He's been running his way through it, but he's only had the belt for a short time, like you said. You're right. He's going to have to do it again. Absolutely.
And I would like to see him fight Edgar as well because styles make fights. And Frankie Edgar probably, like you said, I would much rather see Frankie Edgar in here, instead of Jose, to be honest with you, because we all know Frankie's like, the fight IQ, he's like that. He is like a real life Rocky story in a way. You know what I mean? Like the guy is just, you can never count him out. He's a mini Randy Couture as well. Yeah. You know what I mean? That's what Randy was able to accomplish, throughout his career. Just never count the guy out. So Frankie, I think I would have obviously picked Holloway against Edgar right now as well. But that would have been definitely an intriguing fight because Frankie would have had a great game plan coming into the fight. And if he would have been able to utilize it and maybe throw Holloway off his game a little bit, you never know. So I definitely want to see that fight. I hope it still happens.
It should happen as soon as Frankie gets healed up, but only can happen if Max is still a champ. Yep. If he gets beat by Jose, it's a whole different ballgame again. Now we got to figure out what's going to happen. So, Nick, great insight again. Thanks so much for coming on here, ladies and gentlemen. That's it for this week. Before the bell, we'll see you again. We got to cover Ortiz and Swanson next week. We'll
Yep.
talk to you soon.